Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's session. My name is Jenny, and I'll be facilitating today's event. And today I'm joined by Lydia, Christoph from Repo, and Jonathan from Ofgem. And just before we get started, I just want to go through some housekeeping. So we ask that you keep your cameras and your microphones off. The event will be recorded, so there will be an opportunity to refer back to the slides and the recording, and they'll be available on the rec portal. We'll also be using Slido. The QR code is on the screen now, and we'll also pop a link in the chat, and there'll be opportunities for a Q&A at the end. So if you have questions at any point, then just pop it into Slido. So just wait for people to scan that QR code, and I'll pop a link in the chat now. And just while people are signing into that, I'll share the agenda for today. I think I'll hand over to Chris now.
Thank you, Jenny. So good morning, everyone. I am Chris Stock. I am a business analyst for Retco, as mentioned, and I am currently working on the levelisation process. So I'm here to provide a brief background on what we are talking about today. So firstly, the payment method levelisation or PML reconciliation process. Oh, sorry, can you go on to the next slide, please? So the PML reconciliation process was deployed in April 2024 to reconcile the impact on domestic suppliers of levelling the cost of standing charges for domestic customers between prepayment and direct debit for electricity and gas. So in the current system, Ofgem provides a single electricity and single gas standing charge in each prepayment and direct debit for each direct debit and prepayment. And suppliers provide their domestic electricity and gas portfolios per MPID or SSC. So the system then runs its calculations utilising the two sets of figures and generating invoices or credits where appropriate. So the standing charges Ofgem currently calculate on a quarterly basis are actually split between single rate and multi-register metering arrangements for electricity meters. And so this update seeks to change the current PML reconciliation process to acknowledge the split. So following a development and testing period, we will, on the 1st of January 2024, be processing two sets of levelisation rates for domestic electricity portfolios, one each for single rate and multi-register per MPID. Gas will remain as currently is, with some minor changes to the submission template, which I will be covering on a later slide. So I will clarify, up until the go live of the 1st of January, suppliers must still provide the files as they are currently obligated to, the combined view to Retco. So in addition to the ongoing change that will be implemented on the 1st of January 2025, Retco will be performing a one-off PML reconciliation recalculation, which is a retrospective recalculation of the months of April 2024 to December 2024. This will involve domestic suppliers providing single rate and multi-register electricity meter portfolios in that period, Ofgem providing single rate and multi-register electricity standing charges for that period. The difference in payments to and from suppliers for each month will then be determined and actioned where appropriate, either through invoice or credit, by the conclusion of the 2024-2025 financial year. For this, we require that you will respond to the Ofgem RFI, which will be covered now by Jonathan. I'll hand over.
Hi, for those who don't know me, I'm John Windiot from Ofgem, job title Industry Operations and Commercial Expert, but I've been running the technical side of levelisation delivery. Can we move on to the next slide, please? So I'm not going to go through full slide, but give you a bit of background overview. So we've written to you a couple of times on this already. in order to implement the splits between single rate and multi-register, we need to get the data going back to April, broken down by month. We wrote to you asking you to preserve these data, and we wrote to you again with a little bit more information. You'll be receiving a formal RFI from us on the 1st of August, which will set out exactly what we're asking. The reason that Ofgem is using our RFI powers to ask for this data is because we do have the powers to ask for it, whereas RETCO would only have the powers to ask for it once the code modification has gone through. We expect the data that you give us to tally with the data that you've already provided, in as much as the sum of your single rate and multi-rate register customers on electricity should be equal to the number of meter points that you've put in for electricity previously. Ofgem will be collecting the data from you initially. We will be sharing it with RETCO. We're using it for testing, building, and validation, and it will then be used for the reconciliation process that RETCO are going to discuss with you further today. Can we go on to the next slide? So the first RFI that we get from you is going to be one that covers all of the data from April through to September. We're sending the RFI out in August. We will need you to return that to us in mid-September. There's going to be 3 templates that are all virtually identical, apart from the labeling of one column. So we are, for each MPID SSC, we will require the relevant numbers by payment category type of single rate meter points. A second template that has your multi-register meter points, and we'll be recollecting the gas as well, and that's just a case of you resubmitting the files that you've already submitted. The templates, we've worked with RETCO to make sure that the column headers are the same, the format's the same, so that when you switch over to reporting to RETCO, there's no system change there. You've already been building and doing and reporting to those standards. And we will validate your returns against the returns that you've already submitted. And that's basically all on the Ofgem RFI side. That's all I wanted to set out. As I say, you'll receive a letter from us at the beginning of August with the full details, but I am happy to take any questions on this at the end of the presentation. And if you'd like to move on.
Thank you, Jonathan. Hi, everyone. My name is Lydia Bentley. For those of you who don't know me, I am the lead analyst on the REC change proposal, the modification to put this through the REC at the REC Code Manager. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the actual progression of the change proposal itself and how these changes are going to translate into sort of REC governance and what you as REC parties can expect in terms of engagement. Next slide, please, Jenny. Thank you. So for those of you who have not seen this yet, the payment method levelisation reconciliation, sort of part 1.1, the single versus multi-register, that's been raised on the REC portal as the R0182 change proposal. This came through onto the portal earlier on in late June. You can go on to this now live on the portal. We've attached a link for those of you. The slide deck will be circulated later. It's also available on the REC portal under R0182. So you can go through, you can have a look at that. All of the legal text has been posted on the portal already. Our initial assessment report and change proposal plan have been posted on the portal. So quite a lot of documentation are available already for those of you who are interested to go through and learn a little bit more about this one and how this can progress through the REC. But specifically for this slide, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the solution and how the solution has been captured and how this change has been translated into rec change. So you'll hopefully be aware that as a result of the initial PML reconciliation modification R0147, we created a brand new rec schedule, Schedule 31, the PML reconciliation schedule. It's the legal text changes to this schedule that form, by and large, the entire basis of the R0182 solution. So, like I said, it's available to view. We've got this red line, so you can go through and identify the changes to the schedule, but essentially they sort of fall into three main areas. A new section 11, has been drafted to go onto the end of the schedule to capture the sort of the retrospective true-up requirements, so what we're calling the PML retrospective recalculation. The mechanism is handled under RECO, but so the main arrangements for that and how that'll work and the rec requirements have been captured under section 11 of this, so you can go through and have a look at that on the portal. Additionally, there have been some tweaks to some of the existing sections to capture the new ongoing requirement for the single rate and multi-register split. And as well, we've made changes in that schedule to the appendices that reflect the data submission templates. So there's a bit of a distinction there. We're also changing the separate data submission templates. You can find this in a zipped folder on the portal. You'll have access to those free templates, which will be very, very similar, I believe, or almost identical to the RFI that you're going to get from Ofgem. Those templates are on the portal along with the solution document. So there's changes to Schedule 31. So both of those documents can be found together. You can go through and have a look. And like I say, the appendices, the changes there reflect the changes to the submission template. So that's captured in the document also. There are also some consequential changes to Schedule 1. You'll find these inside the Schedule 31 changes as well. So just, from a rec change perspective, the primary bulk of the change here is obviously in Schedule 31, but also there are a couple of tweaks to Schedule 1 to add in some interpretations of definitions that are pertinent to the single rate and multi-register split requirements for this. So like I say, those links are found on the portal. This is all on the portal if you want to have a look at these documents. But like I say, when this slide deck is circulated later and uploaded onto the portal, you better go through and click on those links to follow through there as well. But that's all from me for now on the CP and the solution on the REC portal. I'll be coming back later to talk about the impact assessment, but for now I believe I'm handing back over to Chris from RECO.
Yes, hello. I'm going to be covering the new templates that we've been teased up until now. So could you go on to the next slide, please? So as we've been mentioning, there are going to be 3 potential templates that suppliers will generate: the multi-register electricity meters, single rate electricity meters, and gas meters. As noted by Jonathan, we have added a new column, which I've boxed in red here, in the new column C. For clarification, this is an insertion of a new column. We're not replacing what was previously in column C. So all other columns will have shifted to the right by 1. As you can see, this is to accommodate the new metering arrangements distinction. You will use multi for multi-register, single for single rate electricity, and for gas, please use single as well. We've also performed some standardization across the templates. As you know, column A header has changed from either MPID or SC to just a generic word code. The system will now distinguish each file by the length of the code. So for electricity, MPIDs, 4 letters, SC will be 3. Otherwise, it's as you've been doing it. The naming conventions have also been updated. It now must include the MPID or SSE that is relevant to the contents of the file, the relevant month and year, and either a S for single or an M for multi. Once again, for gas, please use S, and on screen here are examples of what the file names should look like. I will now hand back to Lydia to provide an overview of the impact assessment.
Thank you, Chris. Cool. So I'm going to talk about the impact assessment. I imagine most of you as REC parties are probably engaged in our impact assessment in some capacity before, but for those of you who haven't, we'll talk a little bit about what you can expect from this process and how you can get involved and give us your views on the R0182 solution changes. So next slide, please, Jenny. Cool. So the code manager is going to conduct an impact assessment across 10 days. This is going to be launched tomorrow on the 26th, and it's going to close on the 9th of August. So we've coincided this webinar to take place with the publication of the impact assessment. So hopefully all these sort of key details are fresh in your mind as you're sort of going through and completing this. So what is the purpose of the impact assessment? So we're going to be asking questions to try and gauge what will be the impact on REC parties. So in this case, domestic suppliers, primarily electricity, but also gas, given the changes to the gas emission template. What will these changes, what effect will they have on your business? So what effect will they have on, for example, operational costs you might incur as a result of making changes to support the proposed solution? Do you identify any benefits to your organisation as a result of this? Anticipated lead times, real sort of nuts and bolts questions to sort of help us establish how will you as the industry react and respond to this, and what will you do in order to sort of make the changes needed to accommodate this update to the PML reconciliation system. So like I say, 10 working days. This is ever so slightly shorter than our normal impact assessments. Normally we might do 15, but we're confident that because sort of by and large the majority of the PML impact has been captured under the original change process, and in many ways this is essentially a bolt-on and upgrade to the original, we feel that this shorter working impact assessment is appropriate. So, and especially as it's underpinned by the supporting work we're doing as well, such as the webinar to sort of prepare parties for this also. So we're confident this 10 working day period will be sufficient. So you have between the 26th of July, launch tomorrow, expect this to come through in REC bulletins by midday, and the 9th of August, I should say, that's close of play. So you'll have up until midnight on Friday to submit that onto the REC portal. So this is open for all REC participants and users. So as I said before, we'd anticipate that this will be of particular interest to domestic suppliers, as you'll be the ones who are sort of primarily impacted by this, but also anyone is free to respond. You can either respond anonymously or with your name on it, or you can either respond confidentially. These are options are all available on the form, so you can fill this in when you're completing it. Like I said earlier, we're going to ask for anticipated costs. So anticipated costs to change operational processes to implement this change. That will include things like FTE costs, build costs, testing costs. So where possible, please provide as much quantifiable data as possible. The more data we have, the better case we can make for this, obviously. So just like a call for data, essentially. As much as we can get from you guys, the better. You'll be able to find the impact assessment on the REC portal under the impact assessment page. You'll be able to download 2 documents, the impact assessment document itself, where we've got details of the solution written down, things similar to what you've heard today, as well as the questions, and then there'll also be a response template. You'll be able to submit responses on the portal directly back through the impact assessment portal itself, but also we will take responses through the REC change management inbox, which will be linked on there also. So I think that's all I have to say about the impact assessment at the moment. Like I say, main points, going live tomorrow, quantitative questions and answers preferable, and your chance to tell us how you'll be impacted by the solution. This is me still for this one. So we're going to talk a little bit about next steps. So what's this change proposal going to look like as it progresses? And then Chris is going to come in and tell us how the data requirements are going to progress over the next couple of months. So next slide, please, Jenny. Thank you. Cool. So what are the next steps? So obviously at the moment we're at impact assessment, but what follows? So on or before the 30th of August, the code manager is going to publish a consolidated document containing all of the responses we get from you guys, hopefully during the party impact assessment, along with the code manager's formal response to those. So every point that's raised, we will go through, we will respond to it. We'll probably pick that up with you privately as well, where it's required. And then they want to publish that document. So all the questions we had in and all of our official responses. If you choose to submit a response to the party impact assessment anonymously, we will publish under it anonymous. We won't put your name against it. And if you choose to submit confidentially, we won't publish it at all. So that's sort of the rules for that one. But yeah, on the 30th of August, when all the impact assessment is wrapped up, we will publish those responses along with our official response also. At the same time, we'll be publishing a change report. So this is essentially what you might see already as a preliminary change report, but I'm not going to go into this now. You'll be aware that we've had some changes to the change management process recently in R0182. So it will be a different type of change report, but essentially the same content. And in that report that we published on or before the 30th, you will find a summary of the proposed solution, an overview of the impact assessment responses, and our provisional business case and cost benefit analysis of the proposed solution. Then on the 30th of August, we're going to launch a full industry consultation. This will be everybody's chance to give us feedback more broadly, not just from sort of like an operational nuts and bolts perspective that we're going to get in the impact assessment, but like a broader you know, what are your thoughts and feelings about the solution in general, sort of response, thoughts and feelings on the legal text, etc. That's going to be live for 15 working days between the 30th of August and the 20th of September. So save that in your calendars, get it in your diaries. What follows that? So on or before the 8th of October, the Code Manager is going to publish our final change report. This will be what we take to the Responsible Industry Committee, which in this case is the REC Change Panel. They will then vote on that by the 15th of October to determine whether R0182 should be referred to the authority, aka Ofgem, for approval. This is, as you'll see from the change documentation, authority-led change. So this will be one where Ofgem have the final say on this one. And then we can expect implementation on or before January, 1st of January 2025. That's obviously when this whole single rate and multi-register requirement goes live. We are provisionally planning this for the November REC release, so that's one for your calendars, but we reserve the right to push that back to an extraordinary December release should we need to. It all depends on how long the documentation takes to go back and forth between the Code Manager and Ofgem, but certainly on or before the 1st of January and the go live there. All of these dates are captured in our change proposal plan. This is live on the portal. You can go through each of these individual milestones there and read more about our rationale behind those dates. That document can be found on the portal, like I say. I've attached a link in the slide deck here, so any of you who download this afterwards will have access to that. Cool, that's all I have from me on the next steps of the change proposal and the REC change process. I'm now going to hand back to Chris, who's going to tell us a little bit more about the next steps in terms of your guys' data requirements over the next couple of months. Thank you.
Thank you. So in addition to the response to the IA that Lydia just covered, we wanted to make sure that it was very clear what data you were sending to who and when. So we have created this table by month of what suppliers need to do with regards to data submissions. So as you can see, in August, it will be process as standard. You'll be submitting the files in their current format to REC, to the system, as you've been doing, and nothing else. For the September period, you'll still be submitting data to us as standard. However, Ofgem will have done their RFI by that point, and you'll need to send April to September 2024 data in the new format. Then it will continue October, November, December. You'll be submitting to RECCO as standard and the new format to Ofgem for the relevant month. In January 2025, the submissions to Ofgem don't need to continue. However, you will need to now start sending them to the system. The April to December 2024 will all need to be sent to the system as well in the new format, and obviously the January 2025 and then onwards it will be in the new format. And I will now hand back to Jenny to cover any questions that may have come up. Jenny.
Thank you very much, Chris. We don't have any questions at the moment, so if you do have any questions, just type it into Slido and they'll pop up on the screen. I can't see anyone typing, so perhaps we can take silence as golden for now. If you do have any questions, you can also maybe raise your hand if you prefer, and ask in person. Great, okay, silence is golden. Thank you everyone for attending today's session. We hope that you found it useful. Just before we go, you asked that you fill out a feedback form just to let us know what we did well and what we can improve. Yeah, thank you everyone.